I'm going to sit in this chair this time. Hello. What did you have for lunch? Pasta? Chinese food? What? Oh, a sandwich. Sushi? I had a lovely ham and cheese sandwich. Jambon et jamón et cheese. Gracias. What are we here to talk about? Careers Hope? I don't know. What's that? Weather? It's beautiful. This is perfect weather. What have you learned so far today? I'm here to give the quiz. I'm the quiz master. What did you learn from Gail that you never knew before? You got some gossip? What gossip did you get? You can't tell? It's gonna be on the interwebs. I'll find out eventually. Is it about me? Gossip about me? What gossip does it say about me?
That was the same question that somebody to you about, well, actually, there was a question that Emmett,
Peter?
got about Emmett, about having sex with Brian. And so,
But why Gail hasn't had sex with me? That's the gossip? Oh, I see. It is, I know. If we all just had one goddamn name, it would be so much easier. But that's good. That sounds interesting. What did Randy tell you that you didn't know? I'm here to tell you whether these things are true or not. So I don't trust him.
well, in the end, Gail said something like he made it all up.
He made it all up? That's with Gail, it's probably true. He confabulates. That's a good English word. Look that one up. Confabulate. That's my story. Do people? Oh, there's questions that were asked. I'm ruining this convention. I apologize. I'm just babbling and going really, hi. Oh.
I'm going to ask this question for my friend. She's too shy.
She's so shy.
You have to wait.
Where?
There.
Oh, so shy.
She wants to know, in your Twitter account and on your website, you say you're a bon vivant. What makes you a bon vivant?
What makes me a bon vivant? I really shouldn't have to
Good
explain
question,
that.
huh?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I just like how it sounds. And I get about town. Sometimes on a bicycle. Sometimes on foot. Sometimes in a car. Thank you. I just feel very, I think obviously I'm a style trendsetter. By my shoes and my dark socks that I'm wearing today. I don't know what makes me a bon vivant. It's nonsense. Anything I put up there is nonsense. Don't believe any of it. I don't know what any of it means. But thank you. You didn't need to be shy to ask that. That was a good question. You did very well. You're welcome. Is that it? Do you have a question for yourself too, or no? Yeah, oh. She has her hand on her hip. You need to come.
What did Careers Folk do for you, professionally and personally?
It did a lot for me professionally. It gave me a career. I mean, I had one before that as well, but it definitely was the only 5 years in my, how long is it now, 27, 28 years as an actor, was the only 5 years where I knew where my next paycheck was coming from. And that was wonderful. But it was, it was more, in terms of a television series, it's more than I ever could have hoped for to get, coming from a theater background and being more of a theater actor before that. It was as close to doing theater in a television atmosphere than I ever could have imagined. I mean, stories I'd heard of what it was like to shoot a television series and to be on a television series seemed like it would be a very difficult thing, where you don't have a lot of creative input and you just kind of show up and say your lines and do your job and that's it. And it's nice to have a job, but it didn't really satisfy the soul. And Queer as Folk was something that, much like doing live theater, it really satisfied the soul a lot. It was very challenging. We had a lot of creative input into the whole show. And I feel so lucky to have been a part of it. And in terms of what it did for me personally, I mean, I learned so much doing the show. I learned, to play the same person for 5 years and to have to be as, honest and naked in all senses of the word as we had to with that show. You have to learn a lot about yourself, and you have to, and to play Ted especially, I had to really call upon and dredge up some of the worst parts of myself, and some of the parts that, many years of therapy had helped me kind of tap down, and then I had to kind of bring back up again. So you're constantly examining and re-examining yourself. So it was like I was getting paid to have therapy and exercise a lot of demons. And also, as I've always said, it's made me a better heterosexual being on that show. For the empathy it gave me for women, for the sexual positions they have to get in sometimes, and otherwise, just in terms of communicating and honesty and just the vulnerability you can feel in a relationship that as a guy you don't often feel, but given the romantic situations in Queer as Folk and in a gay relationship, it taught me a lot about it. That's why I say, and also, as I say quite often, it gave me a lot of empathy for Razor Burn after making out with this stubbly guy. I'm sorry for that.
Hi.
Hi.
I asked the same question with Peter, so I'm asking it of you too.
Yep.
But just wondering about your time on Bones and what's it like working on the set, and what made you keen was there anything in particular that made you keen to work on that show?
I feel very lucky to have gotten on Bones. I mean, I had seen a few episodes. I don't watch a lot of cop shows. I don't know why they never really interest me. But I'd seen Bones a couple times, and I thought the characters on it were very interesting. And it was more than just whatever the crime was. There's some really interesting character stuff going on. But honestly, it just went, like with Queer as Folk, when the script came, and for the audition for that character, he's such a weird, unique, fun guy. I mean, have people watch Bones? You see that show here? Some of you? So I play on this show. I've done 3 episodes of it now, playing this kind of passive-aggressive Canadian forensic podiatrist who specializes in the bones of the feet. And in the first episode of the show, when you meet him, you find out that he and the lead character on the show have a bit of an aggressive relationship between the two of them, where she doesn't believe forensic podiatry should actually be a science, that you should know all the bones of the body and not just the feet. And so she wrote a rather scathing article about him in a magazine that so traumatized him that his right arm became paralyzed. So he had a lot going on, and he was so fun. I mean, what I read in the script I thought was so funny, and he reminded me, having worked up in Toronto for so long, he reminded me, of one of our directors on the show, and he reminded me a little of Taya Gill on our show. So I kind of meshed the two of them together to create this weird, quirky little Canadian character, and I was just so glad they liked him and let me do him on the show. And it's a wonderful, it's one of the nicest sets. Since our show, it's probably the nicest set I've worked on. The actors on it are so wonderful and nice, Emily Deschanel especially, and all of them though, Michaela and TJ. I love going there, and so they've asked me back now 2 other times, and I'm just delighted every time they ask me back because I know I'm going to have a good time, and I know they're going to. It's kind of similar with Ted in a way that he's a character they love to abuse. I don't know why I keep doing this. Character people like to abuse, but there's a certain amount of fun in getting the script. Like, all right, what are they going to put me through this time? And this last episode, they sprayed a whole thing of pig slop all over me with a hose. I know. It's just like first. That's. I said after one take, they sprayed all this stuff all over me. I said, this reminds me of my old job.
You're just talking about bones. Where did you get that accent?
Where did I
What
get
inspired that accent?
that accent? Like I said, it was partially one of our directors on our show on Queer as Folk, Alex Chappell, who is a Canadian director. You'll see his name in the credits for a lot of our Queer as Folk episodes. So is Alex, and a little bit of Taya Gill. It's just very yeah, that's very nice. Sure. It's very Canadian. It's an exaggeration of Canadian, but that's where it came from. Are you Canadian?
I'm from Toronto.
Oh, you're from Toronto, and you don't all sound like that, I know.
I'm like, who?
I know. Well, Tamara, who's on the show, who's on Bones, is from Toronto also. So she's there also sometimes to correct me about things, but she thinks it's hilarious. No, you don't know anyone like him? You're in a different community.
I think so. And speaking of Toronto too, I know you're a big Chicago Bulls fan.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, your time in Toronto, that was sort of the Vince Carter time.
Yes, I saw Vince Carter a lot.
The Raptors as like a team.
I didn't adopt them. I did like them. I mean, I went to a bunch of games when I was there. Yeah, I saw Vince play a lot. He was great. And Chris Bosh when he was there. Yeah, but they're not the Bulls.
One of the jobs you used to do was a warm-up for a talk show.
For Jenny Jones.
Okay.
Have you heard of Jerry Springer?
Yeah.
All right, so this is another talk show around the time of Jerry Springer, and Jerry Springer shot his show in Chicago, and this woman named Jenny Jones, who had been, she was a stand-up comic. There was a talent show years ago called Star Search, and she was the first female winner on Star Search. I think she was a drummer at some point in time, but she had a talk show, and this was back when Jerry Springer and Oprah, Dixie, sit down, Dixie. I know Peter. Oprah, Jerry Springer, and Jenny Jones, and talk shows back then, everyone were all really crazy. It was people yelling at each other and throwing things, and Jenny's show was kind of like that until accidentally she did a show where people had secret crushes on someone, and they would bring their secret crush on the show, and it would be revealed who their secret crush was. And there was one guy who was brought on the show because of a secret crush, and it turned out who had a secret crush on him was this guy he knew. And these were people who lived in a trailer. Do you remember this? They lived in a trailer park back in Indiana. And so the guy who had been brought on the show who thought they were going to bring some woman on who had a secret crush and found out it was this guy was so upset about it that when they went back to the trailer park, he shot and killed the guy. So when I was working on the Jenny Jones show, she was going through this murder trial. Oh, see, they're so upset about it back then. They remember. So I did audience warm-up for her show, and it was scary.
Were you ever asked to be
a guest?
Yes.
No, I was never asked to be a guest on the show, thankfully. Thank you, Deborah.
Hi. Talking about Bones earlier.
Yeah.
Where you made a special appearance.
Yes.
And in the first show too. Which series you would like to make an appearance right now?
What other series would I like to be on? Oh, I would love to be on The Walking Dead. I'd like to be somebody who started off as a human and then turned into a zombie. But a zombie with a heart of gold. Who they would go to Spike and Head and be like, let's keep him around. That would be fun. Supernatural. Sure, I'll go on that. Yes. Anything that helps me come out and meet you people again. That's what I'd like to do. I mean, I would have loved to have been on Breaking Bad. I auditioned for that a couple times. I love that show. Mad Men. All the shows I like are going away. I don't know I've been really bad at watching TV lately. House of Cards, I'd like to be on it. Have you guys watched that yet?
Yeah.
I'd like to be on that. I like good, smart, character shows. I mean, I tend to, I don't know, I keep getting on these cop shows, and I'm always, I tend to be usually like the guy who you don't think did it, and then in the end always ends up doing it. So, I mean, I've killed too many people. I don't want to kill anymore. I want to fight for good and justice. But bad guys are fun to play, so I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Sorry for my bad English.
You're terrific.
Dad falls in love with Michael first, and then with Emmett. He was really in love, or it's a sort of crush because they are his best friend, because considering Ted fears nobody like him?
Oh, that's a great question. Did you all hear that? Do you mean with both of them?
Yes.
I don't know. That's a very good question. There's probably some truth in that. I think. I mean, the one on Michael. I think the crush was probably there from the beginning, even as they became friends. Was kind of how I always imagined it. I mean, I think he had a crush, and I've gone through this in my life too. You meet someone, you have a crush on them, and then you kind of get the vibe that no, they're not really interested. And so you just become their friend, but the crush never really goes away, and you're kind of, and that's kind of how I see the Michael thing. The Emmett thing, I think, was very genuine. I think that came out of a very genuine place of it really just kind of dawning on him when it did, but also just that, and it happens a lot. And when that storyline came up, we talked about it a lot with Dan and Ron, and that this happens a lot in gay relationships, especially. It's something that has to be navigated a lot, is that you have somebody who's your best friend, who you try to navigate these new worlds of adding a sexual element to that. I guess it happens in heterosexual relationships too, but I think it was genuine with him. They were so close, and so did everything together, that it's one of those things that kind of made sense, But I'm sure there's probably some element of that there's a safety in it, that it's easier than going to the outside world and finding somebody brand new and starting from scratch with, and the risks that are there to have someone who you're really close with to try it out with. That's good. Are you a psychologist?
No. I'm a doctor, yes.
You are a doctor?
No.
What do you operate on?
I'm an anesthesia.
A what?
Anestesista.
Oh, you put people out. You're a gas passer.
Yes.
That's good. It's very important.
What's wrong?
You should think about psychology.
No.
You have good instincts.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ciao.
Come back to the future.
Did you change outfits from this morning?
Just for you.
I do. It's very nautical.
It's very summery.
It's very summery, and you should be on your yacht. We'll do the boat tour again. With everything.
It's more or less a remark. I would love to see you, because you just said that you like the dark characters.
Yeah.
Play one.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about playing the dark side of George Clooney, like the brother of George Clooney in a role?
He knows about me, and he's so intimidated. He's put word out. I've got to be the best looking one in my movies. I can't have that guy come in here.
Yeah, you could be the
Show me
bad
up.
side.
I would be the dark side, yeah. I could have like a mustache. The evil Clooney.
Yeah, but that was not my question. question.
Okay.
I really do have a question, but it's more or less pointing out that, like, the one with the head before, with
The one with the head before?
Yeah, it's about the Springer show.
Oh, yes.
Like this morning, Harry and I, we were talking about, like, have you ever considered you and Peter becoming some anchor man, like a host of a show? Because I think you're really entertaining. Like last night with the dinner, you were reading out all names from us, and really host these situations.
I'm very good at reading things, yeah.
Yeah, I think you really should consider.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if this story has been revealed. But I think it was near the end of the series, and for some reason, Peter and I were approached by these two producers who were reality show producers, and they worked for a network in the States, Bravo Television, which at the time was supposed to be the arts and entertainment cable channel, and now they were the original errors of Project Runway, but now it's all The Real Housewives is all they show, these god-awful shows. But anyway, so these producers were working and looking for shows for Bravo, and they approached Peter and I that they wanted to do some kind of reality show with the two of us. And their ideas, that they were pitching to us were, it'll be like the gay guy and the straight guy driving around the country and solving people's problems. And Peter and I went to each other and was like, that sounds like the stupidest show I've ever heard. So he said, let us go away and let us think about it. And we both came back kind of with a very similar idea, which I still think would have been a great show, where Peter and I would go into some small towns. Have you ever seen the film Waiting for Guffman? Have you ever seen that shown in Europe? It was a film by Christopher Guest, who had been in Spinal Tap, and done another number of comedies where people kind of improvise the whole film. And Waiting for Guffman was about a small town. And in the States, a lot of small towns in the summer, they do community theater. I don't know if that translates to Europe at all. But it's basically people in a town and just get together and say, we're going to do a play. And it'll be like The Dentist is playing The King of Siam, and these kind of things. And they tend to be not so great. So we thought that Peter and I would go into some small town somewhere in the States, and we would take over directing whatever the community theater show was that summer, not knowing, who the people who usually play the leads are, and who, and kind of disrupting everything, and then just kind of film that and see what happens. We were told by these producers that they will never do a television show about theater on TV because nobody cares.
They do have those programs in Germany. They shows about theater.
Well, that's Germany, where they have culture and class. I'm talking about the United States of America.
What I had in mind was some kind of like Big Crystal Oscars sort of thing. Big show.
The big shows. We did some hosting of things like that for in the States for the GLAAD Awards or for the Gay and Lesbian kind of entertainment awards. We've done some of that in the past, and I've done some of that. I do like doing that. It's fun. But thank you. I don't know. Pitch it to somebody. I'll do it. Thank you. We'll see you in another outfit soon. Tomorrow. Okay. It's running out. H&M has a sale going on. Hi.
Hi, Sue. I have a question. If you could tell us what you remember about the shooting of the episode of the Liberty Ride.
The Liberty Ride was 2 episodes worth. It was the beginning of March in Toronto, Canada. Actually, we shot the ride itself in a place 2 hours north of Toronto, Canada. When you go north, it tends to get colder. Toronto's already pretty cold. This ride was supposed to look like it's taking place in the summer or late spring. So we were not allowed to wear too much clothing. So it was really, really cold. I will tell you another fact that they spent so much money on Gail's custom-made bicycle that I am riding my own bicycle. I am on a hit television series, and I had to ride my own bicycle, which I still have, and I still ride in Los Angeles now. That's my own bike I'm riding. But Gail now has a $10,000 custom-made frame that you can pick up with your pinky, and the Jean-Chic Jean-Jean grips on it, and the tire is like this, man, and it's awesome. And then it's like, and did you ever see the tour the one year that was this is the same bike you use, man. And I am riding my own bike with my own little bling bling bell. All mine. They put some streamers on it. That's what they spent on me. But I mean, the misery of it made it a lot of fun. The scene I had with Peter with the cows is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, Peter said the same thing when I asked it about him, to him before at the pond.
You like the cows? They were the pretty. Are they not the prettiest cows you've ever seen in your life? I was about ready to run off with one of those cows. She was looking at me with her eyes.
For the movie.
Yeah. That scene ended up being a lot of fun. And again, it was miserable. It was so cold. It was late at night, and we only had those fakakta little fleece things on. But that part was fun, and it was just it's like a fever dream. I can barely remember some of that stuff because it was so, we couldn't believe they were making us do that. We almost made Dan and Ron get on a bike with us. It's like, if you ride it, you have to do it. But it had its fun moments, obviously. And I still have my helmet too, with my light on it somewhere. I kept that. I'm going to sell it to send my kids to college someday when I have kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, actually, I really like the relationship between Ted and Blake, and I think I'm the only one. That's it. No. Okay, that's fine then.
Do other people like Blake too?
Yes.
Not alone.
I think that's cool. I think their relationship is so intense, and true. And I would like to know how it was to play with Dean and so on. And it was, if you have a friendship as Ted and...
We don't make out regularly. But no, Dean is an extraordinary actor. He's a big acting coach now, actually, and he's taught a lot of the top young Canadian acting talent. So he's really wonderful. I've always said I really lucked out that Dean got cast in that part, and again, that's kind of like what Peter and I were talking about earlier in the day. For those of you who are here, that's one of those cases where Dan and Ron saw something going on screen that influenced how they wrote the show, because Blake was not a character. He was supposed to drug me, leave me in a coma, and then fuck off, and then you'd never see him again. But they saw something there, and the dynamic between what Dean and I were able to bring into those scenes, and they kept bringing him back because of that. So that's a credit to his performance that the character lasted as long as it did. And I lucked out also for him being such a little hairless chihuahua to make out with too, because the challenge of, he was not only my first on-screen kiss ever, but my first time kissing a man as well, and to have to, as I've kind of always said, throw the switch to find what is beautiful and attractive in a man, for me to want to be able to honestly portray a romantic relationship with him. He's a pretty guy. It was easy to see him as pretty, and beautiful in a way that I had no problem, being amorous with him in those scenes. And so I lucked out in that way too, that he was the right actor to cast in that part. And we've remained very, very good friends off camera and see each other. I just saw him recently, because he spends some time in Los Angeles and he's up in Toronto quite a bit too. He has a beautiful little girl now who's 3 years old named Ryan, who looks like him. I mean, he's a really sweet little girl. And he's a great, warm, generous, sweetheart of a guy. He's really great, but we don't make out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey! Don't break any more glasses. We can't afford it.
I tried. You've talked about characters or shows that you'd like to be on.
I got Sherlock. I want to be on Sherlock too.
That would be great. That would be great on that.
The BBC one. Yeah. No, not the Robert Downey Jr. one. Benedict Cumberbatch. And anything with Martin Freeman or Ricky Gervais. I want to work with him too.
But are there any characters or type of characters that you would never ever play, no matter how good the financial offer may be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know particular characters. I told my agents and managers back years and years ago, I don't want to ever do a film or a project that in any way glorifies guns, any stupid shoot 'em up kind of thing. I won't do, because I think it does have an effect on people's consciousness. In terms of numbing people out to like what these things can do. I don't like guns, sorry. So I wouldn't do that. I don't know what else. I mean, it kind of depends on the script. It's not the character. It's kind of how things are treated. Because you get. I mean, I'll play a god awful pedophile rapist if the script is good and there's a reason for it. If it's gratuitous and done for shock's sake, I won't do it. I don't like torture films. I probably wouldn't do a torture film kind of thing. I know people like those too. There's things I kind of feel like stay on your soul a little bit, whether you see them on screen or you act them. The only scene I ever, in Queer as Folk, the only thing I ever had a body double for was when Ted was getting gang raped in the crystal meth scenes, because I felt like, if the character doesn't remember it, I don't want to remember it either. And there was this very sweet background artist who lived in Toronto, who'd come up from Mexico, and was living in Toronto, and he was a big Queer as Folk fan, and I guess they asked around for someone to kind of take a few hits for me. And all he wanted was to take his picture with me. And there's this very strange picture of this guy who has his arm around me. He's so excited to go lay on the table and have literally 10 guys come up and move on. And it was a really ugly scene. And we had members of the crew walk off the set for that scene, because they shot it like a snuff film with just this video camera. It was really ugly and gross, and I had to get up there for the last few. But there's things like that I felt like I just didn't want to take that experience with me. It was bad enough seeing it, when I had to see it on the screen. So things like that, like I just, those films where people just get tortured, and I don't know. You probably all, I don't know, do people like those? People like them. It's okay. All right. So things like that I wouldn't do, but I don't know if there's a particular, it just depends on the project. I can't say there's a particular character, because if you can find some humanity in them, and if I can connect with it on some level, I want to do it. And if it's scary to me for some reason, Queer as Folk was scary to me, but that's exciting. As an artist, that's like you want to find your way, find your way into it. That's a good question, but yeah, I think it would have to do more with the project than a particular character. I think. Is that an okay answer?
Yeah.
Okay. You're welcome. Do you have a prepared statement you'd like to make to the jury? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I don't know how many questions I can ask you.
How many? I don't know how much time we... Sure.
Okay.
Anybody else have some? Go ahead.
Can you tell us anything about the podcast series characters?
Yes.
Still working on that project?
I am working on it in my brain. I kind of got thrown off track with that a little bit. I wanted to do a podcast called Characters, which would be just interviewing great character actors. And character actors are all those actors who you know their face because you've seen them in 100 films, but you have no idea what their names are. And that's the kind of actor I've always wanted to be. And those are the actors I've always admired, back from, old black and white movies like Frank Capra films, where you'd see the same actors kind of pop up in little parts, playing Uncle Billy here and playing, a drunk, somewhere else. And so I wanted to find those actors that are still alive now and interview them. And so I did one. There's an actor named Bruce McGill, who's an extraordinary actor who's been in films from Animal House up until The Insider. He was in Lincoln. I mean, he's one of those actors who, like, if you Google Bruce McGill and look up his face, you go, oh yeah, that guy. And that's the kind of people I want to talk to and interview and just get them to tell their stories so people can get to know them. So I was able to interview Bruce. He's on a television series called Rizzoli and Isles in the States right now. And I talked to him in his trailer. And I did that last summer, and then I went off and I did a play, and I kind of got distracted in my life. And I haven't gotten around to editing it and getting it for the list. So it's still something I very much want to do, but I've kind of gotten sidetracked a little with it. It happens to me a lot. I get these great ideas, and then life takes over and distracts me.
Another project, Better Half, you're working with it? The Better Half?
The Better Half, yes. That was an independent film that, what's that?
An indie.
It's a little independent film, yeah, a little indie that was dealing with a gay couple who have adopted a child. Michelle Clay wrote this film and directed it, and she just approached me to play kind of a smallish part of a lawyer in it. And it's a project I kind of believed in for what it was saying and doing, and I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, this is what happens often too. I mean, I shot it last summer. I don't know what she's doing with it now.
Well, she's raising money.
Is she raising money? Okay, thank you. See? I come to Spain to find out what my career in Los Angeles is doing. Yeah, she's wonderful, and it's a terrific little film, I think.
My question was,
yes.
What's your role?
Oh, what's my role?
Because I couldn't find any information.
I play a lawyer from the Lambda, which is it's a legal aid foundation that helps gay and lesbian and transgender people in the States. And so I play, my character's a lawyer who works for Lambda, who's trying to help this couple with their adoption and the troubles they run into. And he's rather brusque. And it's the kind of character Bruce McGill would play, if you look up Bruce McGill.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was good. Now comes the karaoke part of our show. And we're going to cue the music in. What happens now?
That's the end of
Oh, that's the end of the thing? Oh. Oh, come to my room. We'll go talk some more. There's plenty more time. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much.